Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Jeff Beals here at your service. Glad you joined us on this beautiful late summer morning. You are listening to the only show in the entire metro area that focuses on the growth and development of the city. We talk about construction projects and growing the population and developing real estate and opening new businesses. Really fun things related to Omaha becoming more vibrant and more prosperous. Want to thank our couple of sponsors that we have, our title sponsors. The first one is Cheer Athletics, the nation's number one all-star cheer gym, and also Dingman's Collision Center with 4 metro area locations. Well, without any further ado, it's time to bring on my co-host, a man who is absolutely legendary in his real estate deal-making prowess and experience, Trenton Magid.
It's that thing I've been doing for 31 years. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Trenton. 31 years goes by pretty fast.
Absolutely. And we've been on this show for almost 21 years.
Yeah, it's so much has happened in that time. And, a lot of our listeners have been with us since day one, and we truly appreciate that. Want to remind everyone that one of the biggest things we like to cover would be new restaurants and new retail, because everyone uses retail and restaurants and everyone likes it. So we talk about it quite a bit. And that's one of the reasons why we now have a set of new resource lists on the GrowOmaha.com website. So you just click on LISTS lists on the navigation bar, and you can see Omaha's biggest list of local coffee houses, happy hours, daily restaurant specials, birthday party ideas, and we even have one for private party rooms. So the next time you're thinking about going out for entertainment reasons, always want to check those lists. Of course, we have our restaurant reviews and movie reviews written by Chris Corey. So really, when you're getting ready to go out, whether it's for coffee for breakfast in the morning or you and your significant other for an evening out, check with us first because we're your resource.
Absolutely. And Cam Vasek, who's the genius behind the lists, who joined Grow Omaha a few weeks ago, unlike most of the spots on Grow Omaha Media that have a waiting list for sponsorship, you and your company can sponsor the list, I believe, unless there's something you haven't told me about over the weekend, Jeff.
No, we have those available. Just send a note to news@growomaha.com. And speaking of the news, it's time for the news of the week. It's brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. Thank you to Holly Schneiderwind and her team at Eagle Mortgage for making this possible. They've been doing mortgages for well over 30 years. And we always say, if you're thinking about buying a new house, talk to Holly or one of her mortgage brokers about getting a pre-approval letter. You want to be armed with the ultimate weapon and shield, and that's a pre-approval letter from Eagle Mortgage. It's a competitive housing market out there, still is, even though it's not quite as wild and crazy as it was a couple years ago, still competitive at a lot of price levels. Get your pre-approval letter from Eagle Mortgage. And by the way, they're not a bank. They have access to multiple banks, so they can get you the best deal for your right situation. You can find them in person, 114th and Davenport Street, or online at eaglemortgagecompany.com. Trenton, so many things in the news. First of all, today we have a new Kia dealership is planned for the corner of 180th and Burke Street. This is going to be in West Village Point, going to be part of a mixed-use development. The Omaha Planning Board this week, approved a final plat for this multi-phase development. The Kia dealership will be H&H, 34,000 square foot building, will be accompanied by a new car wash facility. That's phase 2. Phase 1 is a 10,000 square foot restaurant building just west of Core Bank's headquarters. And then the final phase of this project will be the development of a multi-family residential building with 24 apartment flats. This is another example of a lot of growth in that West Dodge corridor.
Absolutely. I happened to be at a event last night with Steve Hinchcliffe, who owns Onyx and Kia and H&H, and wonderful person, and done a lot of great stuff with his son, Jeff. And this will be the third Kia dealership. They're finishing one up over at Steel Ridge on 370 and I-80. There's one in Council Bluffs, and then this one. And I don't know exactly what's going to be there, but that restaurant site might be a strip center. It might be a few different food items and food places and things like that.
Well, and being that close to Village Point and the demographics in that area and Dodge Street, I would imagine you could probably actually support a few more restaurants in that area.
I mean, I wish I could talk about it, but I've got a client that's going to build an 8,000 square foot restaurant over by that hotel, be very visible from Dodge Street, and then also from 180th.
Can't talk about it? What's it rhyme with? What's the first letter?
Let's just say it rhymes with tweaks.
Okay. Methodist Jenny Edmondson Hospital and Acadia Healthcare Company recently broke ground on a $55 million behavioral health building in Council Bluffs. The exact address is 3620 South 24th Street. If you're familiar with that area, there are a bunch of sports fields kind of west of there, so it'd be near that. This behavioral health hospital will have 96 inpatient beds, 24 of which will be dedicated for kids and adolescents. The new hospital will create 200 new jobs and should be open in early 2026. And sadly, we've had a terrible shortage of mental health care and facilities, so this will be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, we might want to ask why we need so many more mental health facilities, if it's social media or whatever, but probably for another show. But if you think about it, over the last couple of decades, Jeff, on this radio program, we've talked about how the red meat for construction and architects and stuff has been schools and houses of worship, and now it seems like it's medical.
Yeah.
So think about the amount. CHI just opened like a 55,000 square foot facility near 72nd, and their Emmanuel was Emmanuel Hospital from North Omaha. It's an awesome project. You've got the Children's Mental Health Facility that's getting done on like 86th and Dodge. So more and more of these medical facilities keep opening up, and hopefully we're looking at the root causes of some of these conditions rather than just keeping them perpetuated.
Yeah, and by the way, we also, to add to your healthcare construction comments, Trenton, are on the front end of a $2.2 billion hospital at the Med Center, although that's several years away from actually opening. Clarity Development Company plans to rehabilitate 2 historic buildings in the Flatiron District downtown. Each building will be converted into low-income housing tax credit multifamily units. The first one is a 3-story building at 1501 Howard Street that will have 16 apartments in it and some ground floor retail parking in the basement. That one was going to be renovated into apartments a while back by a different developer. It fell through. It's a building that is immediately west of the current police headquarters. So that'll be kind of a nice historic reuse. And then a few blocks further west at 500 South 18th Street, Clarity Development plans on renovating a 6-story building called The Standard. That would have, looks like about 40 apartments. Like I said, it's 6 stories, and would also have some commercial space on the ground level. Now, the same developer at one point was also, by this Standard building, going to build a big new building that's on the site of a current surface parking lot. We don't know what the status of that is. The impression I get from what went through planning board is that the focus is on these historic buildings for now.
Yeah, I think it's great. And you start getting into historic tax credits, tax increment financing, and they seem to have it down on how to make that work. And they're complicated financing structures. They're when you're subsidizing housing and things like that. And for all of the people that are on our Facebook page or Groma page, that every time a ground up project happens that's market rate, they chime and say, well, where is it for the lower end? We can't afford these, everything else. Here's an example, and there's a lot more examples of low income housing and mixed income housing, and we're getting housing on all fronts throughout the greater Omaha area.
Well, we know that education is a big part of the growth and development of our metro area. And good news, the University of Nebraska Foundation again broke a fundraising record, receiving nearly $389 million in new funds in the most recent fiscal year. And that far exceeded the $354.5 million raised last year. Fifth consecutive year annual giving to the University Foundation has surpassed $300 million. So to all you donors, good job taking care of Omaha's future and keeping us competitive in the education
And that was
world.
before last week's game.
Yeah, maybe that may have helped.
Yeah,
We'll see.
Let's hope we beat Colorado.
Yeah, maybe tonight's game might help a little bit more if all goes well. American Airlines is bringing back nonstop flights to Philadelphia International Airport. We had these for a while, for several years, and then lost them around pandemic time. That actually, a lot of people think, oh, Philadelphia, big deal. Philadelphia is one of the 10 biggest metro areas in the United States, monster business center. And we really needed these back. And the good news is, now the bad news is they don't start till June. So you have darn near a year to wait. The good news is they're doing 2 a day.
Do you think it's a bunch of frackers that are going over there?
We don't know, but we know
A lot of
that
frackers in Pennsylvania.
I'm thinking they're a little further west than Philadelphia.
Okay.
But 2 a days starting June 5th, and that'll be a nice addition, nonstops from Epley to the city of brotherly love. Now, after more than 100 years in business, got some sad news. Woolner's Grocery Store. It's actually Woolner's Neighborhood Grocery Store, permanently closing at 32nd and Dodge in Midtown Crossing. The owners have decided to retire. Well, you hear that, and you think, okay, maybe things weren't going so well, because
They would have sold it.
why wouldn't you have sold it? Yeah. So, in fact, someone said, oh, that's not a good sign. And some said, well, the owners are retiring. Well, kind of weird that they wouldn't have sold it.
Well, and there's parking there. It's not the most walkable area except for the residents and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that more variety and probably more price competition on a Baker's or something like that down the street.
Grocery is a tough business, and especially it's very volume oriented. And in fact, for years, Woolner's had that radio commercial that made fun of the volume grocery stores. But that's tough. People really love Woolner's, and it was a real nice part of that neighborhood. We hope that another grocery store will take its place at some point in time. We also know that there is a lot of talk about a grocery store going into downtown proper, a little bit to the east. The mayor has hinted about this several times and has indicated that multiple developers are working very hard. There's talk possibly Civic Square, possibly Builders District, possibly somewhere along Farnham or Harney on the future streetcar route. So I don't think we'll have a so-called food desert in the urban core for long, but it is sad to see Woolner's go.
And just so you know, even though we've been talking about this for 21 years on this show, that doesn't mean we're going to stop broadcasting once downtown gets this sizable grocery store, because that was one of the things that we started with, if you remember.
Yeah, we've long stated our belief that a full-service grocery store in the downtown area will accelerate more residential growth. We're already doing great with residential growth there, but I am convinced that once that opens, you'll see an acceleration of downtown residential growth.
Well, and we're getting parking garages, and we're getting a ton of multifamily housing, some single family, but that's all part of it to make it viable.
And also a lot of growth in the Millwork Commons area, which we're going to talk about in the next segment. All sorts of activity planned for this Millwork Commons district, which is north of Charles Schwab Field in North Downtown. But before we get to that, we have to wrap up our news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage, and bring you to the first break of the hour. It's going to be a short one, and when we come back, like we said, not only Millwork Commons, but we'll have a few other pieces of information for you. Stay with us. You're listening to Jeff Beals and Trenton Magid on Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, along with Cheer Athletics on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And good morning. Welcome back to the show. I am Jeff Beals, sitting next to my friend Trenton Magid. The show is brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center along with Cheer Athletics. What exactly is Cheer Athletics? Well, nothing less than the nation's #1 all-star cheer gym. All-star cheer is going to be an Olympic sport, really catching on as a competitive outlet for kids to grow and develop and turn into leaders. And there are only probably about 12 or 14 of these cheer athletics gyms in the world. We're lucky to have one right here in Omaha, specifically in Papillion. It's located just a little bit southwest of highways 50 and 370. And in a couple of years, they're going to have a brand new one in Gretna, which will also be really close to Highway 370. But it doesn't matter whether you go to the one in Papillion right now or when they move over to Gretna in a couple of years, they do a great job with your kids. So if you have a son, daughter, grandchild, niece or nephew, and you're looking for a place for them to really make a positive impact on their life and build them for the future, look at Cheer Athletics, caomaha.com. Well, a couple quick news items before we get into our discussion of this segment. I do want to mention, Trenton, this is kind of interesting. There was going to be a new car wash has been under construction on the northeast corner of 72nd and Haskell Street. It was going to be called Silver Star out of South Dakota. Well, now if you drive by, there's a sign up for a new car wash there that's, last time I was there a few days ago, just about ready to be open. Club Car Wash.
Yeah, I know something about car washes in Omaha, as I've done, 5 or 6 Tommy's Express for a couple different master franchisees. I think everybody's noticed a plethora. There was like 7 or 8 different national branded car washes, one local, and things seem to be slowing down and consolidating. And International Car Wash Group, which I believe is the biggest, they also have Take 5 oil changes and things like that. I think they're doing the oil changes, but I think they've pretty much pulled out, as far as I know, that they sold a few of their sites to Club Wash, which is a big one.
Out of Missouri.
Yeah, and you've seen those at like 72nd and L Street in front of Menards. They took over the one at Shadow Lake on 72nd and 370. They took over this one, Silver Star, which is a big one as well. Couldn't find the locations, or they're late to the game, or whatever. So I think, and the other thing too is there's also Tidal Wave. My understanding is that they've really slowed down and not looking for more sites. As far as I know, something could have changed, but every time I drive by like 90th and Dodge or 119th and Dodge, I don't see a lot of traction there, and I know that you like that one.
I like that one because they give you a towel.
Yeah, you could bring your own towel, but
I don't want to bring my own towel.
You don't have to bring your own towel. So anyway, sorry, we had a moment there, ladies and gentlemen. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of shakes out. I mean, you're talking about $4 to $7 million plus on some of these facilities, and so it's a liquid business. I joke, but it's an expensive business, and there's not a lot of secondary uses. It's not like you can
turn them into frozen yogurt stores.
Yeah, it's not like a fast food restaurant's going down. You throw up a different name and change some colors. These things either go to an off-brand car wash, and they each have their own unique looks, or not only do you have to take the building down, you got to take all the drains out, all the ground, everything that's in the ground comes out.
At one point, we were opening frozen yogurt shops on every corner. Lately, we've been opening car washes on every corner. Someday, there will be another. Another trend.
Now we're in vape and fake marijuana shops.
Every corner. Well, let's talk a little bit about Millwork Commons. This is the mixed-use district in North Downtown. Really, the anchor of it is comprised of 2 buildings, the Mastercraft, which is an old furniture factory that has a lot of startup businesses, and then right to the south of that, the Ashton building, which is another historic building with some startups and also has a lot of cool restaurant and retail. Those 2 buildings are the hub, but then there have been several others, the Hello Apartments. They're working right now on a project there that's coming along very nicely called the Dizzy Mule.
Which keeps expanding.
Which will have 172 apartments and 18,000 square foot of retail. It's both historic renovations along with 2 new 5-story buildings. So that's all coming along quite nicely. But wait, there's more. This area is really, really catching on right now. So a couple things have gone through planning board already this month. The first one is what's being called the Millwork Hotel. And this is on the same block as the Dizzy Mule. So the Dizzy Mule was 3/4 of the block. This historic building, known as the Radford Building, on the northeast corner of this block. And so let's say 12th and Nicholas. Okay, 12th and Nicholas, southwest corner, historic renovation. It's going to be $57 million, turning it into the Millwork Hotel. Wow. 135 keys. Also would have 7,000 square feet of retail space. A 4th floor will be added to this historic building and will include a rooftop bar. So that's one thing.
Is it flagged?
Right now they're just calling it the Millwork Hotel. Now that could be a temporary name or it could be the name. So we don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
Reservation Center, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, like that Peregrine Hotel is isn't that part of Hilton or Marriott or something like that? We'll see how that all plays out. So that's south of the Ashton building. So south of Nicholas. Now, west of the Ashland or the Ashton building and north of Nicholas is going to be the Frame Apartments. And the planning board approved tax increment financing this week, $44 million building. It would be 5 stories, 146 apartments with 10,000 square feet of retail. But wait, there's more. To the east of the Ashton building. So this would be northeast of 12th and Nicholas. City of Omaha plans a 600-stall parking garage. That would be probably about a $27 to $28 million investment right there. So this whole area of Millwork Commons, north of downtown, is blowing up in a very good way. And in addition to all of the stuff that's underway, and I just mentioned, there's room for a lot more.
Yeah, and that's walking distance to the College World Series, that parking garage.
Boom, it's right there. Like a lot of people during the CWS games would run over to that Ashton building because they have the brewery there. They have a coffee shop there, a bakery, a couple of restaurants. Dolomiti is a restaurant that's right in that building.
And people are lobbying to extend the streetcar from the CHI and do a loop around Millwork Commons area, which would be huge as well.
Well, one guy lobbying for that is our buddy Brad Williams, who thinks it would be a great turnaround idea. Yeah. And he compares that area to the River North area on the northern terminus of the Kansas City streetcar. If you haven't been there, I've ridden that streetcar a couple times. When it gets to its north point, which is right up against the Missouri River on the north side of their downtown, it literally goes through this historic district they call River North, where they have a totally cool public market, by the way. That could work down the road. It'd be expensive to extend it up that direction, but we shall see. And it brings us to the middle of the show. It's time for us to break for the news. You must know what's going on in the world, so we're going to take care of that. And when we come back from the news and the weather, we'll have some more for you. In fact, we're going to talk about some rankings that Omaha and Nebraska have received. Stay with us. You're going to enjoy it. We promise. You're listening to Jeff and Trenton on Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, along with Cheer Athletics on News Radio 1110 KFAB. Well, good morning and welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals at your service, sitting next to Trenton Magid. We are brought to you by Cheer Athletics along with Dingman's Collision Center. And Dingman's has been one of those companies that frequently, if not always, gets that Best of Omaha award that you see, those stickers on business doors. They're always Best of Omaha when it comes to collision repair. They also have mechanical services as well, but Dingman's does an outstanding job. 4 metro area locations, Northwest O, 144th and Industrial, Old Town Papillion, and also in Midtown along Saddle Creek. It's time for our Noddle Company's Commercial Real Estate Development Spotlight of the Week, which is brought to you by Noddle Companies. And
I thought that was a trick question.
No. See, in radio, we try not to have any periods of silence, or so it's always be like filling the air with talking.
Because you said Noddle Companies. I know that. I was with Sam Noddle last night, too.
How's Sam doing?
He's doing great. He's a dynamo, and he and the whole team are doing amazing things at Noddle Companies. Yeah,
they really are, and they have been for a long time. You know, they're in multiple states, And here in Omaha, they're famous for Exarban Village, the Builders District, and many, many other projects. They also have built some of our big corporate headquarters. In the last not too many years, Nautil Companies built a global headquarters for Valmont, Fortune 1000 company, built a global headquarters for HDR, one of the top 10 architecture and civil engineering firms on planet Earth. And they just do great, great work. What's that?
Kiewit. And I picked him up last night.
Fortune 500 company.
At Exarban Village. And it's truly the best mixed-use development Omaha has ever seen, because you've got the college there, you got even the business school, and you have a bunch of different types of apartments and townhomes and restaurants, retail, and just the vibe is so cool. And ladies and gentlemen, that could have been a casino.
And thank God it wasn't. Instead, it's like Trenton said, one of the coolest mixed-use developments in this region of the country. And that is where our news is for this week's Nautil Companies Commercial Real Estate Development Spotlight. And it is Sammy's Sub Shop. That is hard to say. 3 S's. Sammy's Sub Shop will host a soft opening. It hosted a soft opening a couple days ago on Thursday. They are in the Inner Rail Food Hall, which is part of Exarban Village. Totally cool. A lot of different food concepts in there, a lot of startup food concepts in there. And at any rate, it is what you think it is. It's a sub shop, and I hear it's quite good. They're in the former No Name Cafe and Market space. Sammy's Sub Shop is locally owned and will operate daily and also offer catering. And that is your Nautil Companies Commercial Real Estate Development Spotlight of the Week. If you want to learn more about Nautil Companies, just go to nautilcompanies.com. Good news, Joslyn Art Museum reopens Tuesday, September 10th, just a few days away. This after a $100 million renovation and addition. The addition is called the Rhonda and Howard Hawks Pavilion. It has been closed for 2 years. There are a lot of art aficionados in town that can't wait to get in and see that beautiful new addition.
And there's a huge collection of modern art. It was Phil Schrager's collection. His family pretty much donated all his life's collection of artwork, and big philanthropist he was. And so I can't wait to see all that. But it's been a couple of years. I mean, it's been a long time, and to get that open and it's fresh and new.
I had coffee yesterday with a friend of mine who's a bank executive in town, and we were just talking about all of the philanthropic contributions that people in Omaha have made to the downtown area in the last few years. And when you start to tick off the list, $350 million for the riverfront parks, over $100 million for Kiewit Luminarium, over $100 million for Steelhouse Omaha, over $100 million for this Joslyn Art expansion. It doesn't
really starts to mean real money.
It doesn't take long to get up to $750, $800 million in philanthropic contributions just in the downtown area in the last few years.
But that's what keeps the downtown vibrant, and so goes the city.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why Omaha made the list of best places for families in 2024. That is according to the magazine Fortune. Says Omaha is a great place to live is not one that solely supports a family in the present, but one that will serve them for the long term. With a growing portion of Americans caring for both children and aging parents, more people want to live in cities where multi-generational families can thrive. And as the retirement dream is unraveling for many older adults who don't want to leave the workforce or can't afford to, finding a place to live that provides a strong job market has never been more critical. So that's Omaha. Fortune analyzed more than 2,000 cities across the country, and Omaha did very, very well, coming in at 38th out of 2,000. The top 5 were Silver Spring, Maryland, Upper Marion, Pennsylvania. Never heard of it.
Oh, forgot about that.
Chantilly, Virginia, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Mason, Ohio. And then Nebraska came in as the number 3 ranked hardest working state in America, according to a study highlighted recently in Newsweek. So good job, Nebraskans. You work really hard.
We're doing our part here Saturday morning.
Look at us. We get up early on Saturday morning and work.
Yeah, this is the day I get up the earliest.
Nebraska, it's not a lie. Nebraska had the third highest percentage of workers with more than one job, which is 7.4%, and the fifth highest volunteer hours per capita.
Excellent.
Now, some people would say the fact that Nebraska had the third highest percentage of workers with more than one job is bad, because they would say, that means you don't get paid enough in Nebraska. Maybe.
I thought that would have been higher, actually.
I think it's just like, I've got more than one job. I've got 3 jobs.
Yeah.
I like all 3 of them.
When it comes to volunteerism, and I'm nowhere near that, and I should be closer, but I'm not. I want to give a shout out to Rick and Carol Russell, Millard Lumber. They've owned in their family for a few generations, and they've probably collectively have been on well over 150 boards. So Rick and Carol Russell, wonderful people. If you see them, tell them Trenton's talking about them in a good way. And I just see them at every event I go to. And it's those kind of people that really set the tone for the volunteerism in Omaha.
And with that, we are going to take our final break of the hour. And you know what that means. When we come back, it's time for the Perkins Kreitzer Construction Lightning Round, in which we talk about a lot of news bits in a very short period of time. I'm looking at the list, and it looks really, really full. So stay with us. You don't want to miss any of it. You're listening to Jeff and Trenton on Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Cheer Athletics. We'll be back after this on News Radio 1110 KFAB. It's time for your Perkins Kreitzer Construction Lightning Round, in which we talk about a lot of things really fast. Thank you to Perkins Kreitzer Construction for making this possible. You know them simply by driving around town, because so many cool buildings in this metro area are Perkins Kreitzer Construction buildings. It is a full-service Class A general contractor company located right here in Omaha. Their service area stretches out west towards North Platte, north up to Sioux City, and really the whole environs around that area. Dave Kreitzer is the guy in charge there, a good friend of ours, who we've enjoyed talking to about construction projects and all that. If you're looking for a contractor to help you, a healthcare project, retail, office, education, religious, industrial, financial institutions, restaurants, they do all of that, and they do an outstanding job. If you want to find them online, just go to p-cconstruction.com, p-c construction.com stands for Perkins Kreitzer Construction. All right, let's talk about some cool stuff going on here. First of all, Church's Chicken plans on opening a second location. The first one is at 168th and Maple. The second one appears to be, according to a recent building permit application, at 2310 North 90th Street. That was the location of a previous Godfather's Pizza. It's still in the early design process, but the permit indicates that there would be a new 1,700 square foot freestanding building with a drive-through.
I think really nice. Mohammed Haque is the guy's name. He came from Junction City, Kansas. If it's the same franchisee, I sold him a piece of the Thompson Mile on 168 right next to Walmart, and they knock him dead over there. People couldn't wait for them to come back, and so it's kind of a throwback. I remember that. I remember Bojangles and Popeyes, but Churches, they ought to do well out there.
A sushi restaurant is moving into a former IHOP building at 4707 North 72nd Street. The application for remodel is a business named Azumi Sushi and Hibachi. That is, Azumi is spelled I-Z-U-M-I, Azumi Sushi and Hibachi. There's a similarly named restaurant in Clive, Iowa. Based on the website, they offer both a la carte and all-you-can-eat sushi, hibachi, and other Japanese-inspired dishes.
You realize how
the building will see some exterior changes, including new paint and all that sort of thing. We've had a lot of people ask about that one.
Yeah, good thing paint. They're doing paint. Hopefully carpet too, or tile. But you realize how ironic that is, that a sushi place moving into an IHOP?
So many places we could go with that. But first of all, let's tell everyone.
84th and Dodge, the IHOP, that A-frame building or whatever, where Sushi Ishiban was also an IHOP.
That's true. We have a grand opening date for Mocha Nut, the Hawaiian donut shop from Los Angeles. This is a dessert crossover shop, and it'll be debut its first Nebraska or Iowa location September 10th, which is the same day Joslyn reopens. It's at 3605 North 147th Street in the shops at Grayhawk. Construction is underway in the former Charleston's building at 138th and West Dodge Road. That means renovations have started that will eventually convert the building into Terra Gaucha, an upscale Brazilian steakhouse that currently has locations in Florida and Connecticut.
I have to believe that Omaha's, after the pandemic, are drinking more. You got Total Wine signs up at 80 or 72nd and Pacific Street. You've got all these restaurants and liquor stores. I tell you what, we're consuming a lot.
And playing games while we drink, because Capital Arcade is now open at 10th and Dodge Street. This is from the same owners as Fat Putter, which is across the street to the east. Capital Arcade is in an 8,000 square foot space. It'll have both a bar and a full video arcade concept. That same company also has Prehistoric Putt, which is putting another location in the old Nobby's building in Bel Air Plaza, 120th and Center. Workers have installed exterior signage for the Salty Dog Bar and Grill for its future Omaha location in MH Landing, northeast of 72nd and Grover. Salty Dog's original location is in Council Bluffs. The Omaha one is getting close. That same building will also have Nebraska's first Wiener Schnitzel location. That's a popular California hot dog chain. And their signage is not up, but there is a big banner outside that says Wiener Schnitzel coming soon.
So one is hot dogs and the other one is
sports bar.
Salty Dogs.
Yeah, they have more than just dogs.
I don't think either one of them is going to allow dogs to come in the restaurants.
Colombia Para Todos, a Colombian restaurant previously open only once a week, will now operate daily at its new food court location in Oakview Mall. Grand opening and anniversary celebration are set for tomorrow. The restaurant, which opened last year, was formerly located near 50th and Saddle Creek Road. Netpar plans to open a second Metro location in Gretna in a newly constructed building near 178th and Highway 370. Netpar is an upscale indoor simulated golf business that serves beer, cocktails, and a limited food menu. They have an existing location in the Capital District downtown, and the Gretna one opening soon. The music is playing, which means we have to cut it off. The rest of the information you can find on growomaha.com. In the meantime, have a great week. I'm Jeff Beals.
And I'm Trenton Magid.
You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center, Cheer Athletics, and Perkins Kreitzer Construction. We'll chat with you next week at 9 o'clock right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB. If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.